So some interesting quotes have been coming out of Stefano Domenicali recently, the Formula 1 CEO. Some regarding a Rwandan Grand Prix, some regarding a Thai Grand Prix, and a few other things as well going on at the moment. But I saw this one from him recently as well, and he was talking about reverse grid sprint races. And he said, and I quote, "Why not?" Well, let's have a look at what he's actually saying here. So, F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali has been a strong advocate for sprint races and is now considering introducing reverse grid sprint races to create more action. Now, the sprint calendar for 25 has been released. There's only going to be 6 of them. There's not going to be any more. Some people were thinking there might be 12. And in terms of where they are, they're pretty much exactly the same as this year, except there's a Spa weekend instead of, I think it's Austria that's been replaced. That's the only change compared to 2024. Just want to shout out, this is Formula 1 as well, for actually breaking the story here. That's where I got it from. So the sprint format, first introduced in Silverstone in 2021, has faced consistent criticism from drivers and pundits. Initially there were 3 sprints in 21, by 24 there are now 6 of them, and this is all part of a calendar that contains 24 races. Concerns about fatigue amongst teams and drivers have been raised, as an overcrowded schedule might diminish F1's unique appeal. However, Domenicali believes that the increased number of sprints would enhance the entertainment value, stating, "I think that we're not in a position to say that we're going to be like MotoGP, for example, with a full race calendar situation of sprints." So for those who don't know, MotoGP, of course, the top class of motorcycle Grand Prix racing. If you want to check out some MotoGP content, of course, we have a MotoGP channel on Microsoft. It's called motorchronicle.com. But yeah, the situation with MotoGP is that the whole calendar has sprints. Every weekend has a sprint weekend. So it's just a little race that takes place the day before, similar to F1, but they have it every weekend. F1 doesn't do that, of course. But yeah, he said, went on to say, but there is a margin to grow, maybe 1/3 of the calendar. That could be a possibility, of course. So 1/3 for F1 at the moment would be an 8th race that's got a sprint race. So 7th and 8th races, and a slight increase on what we've got now. So a reverse grid situation, that's something that he's been saying, why not do it? Well, let's see. I mean, from an entertainment point of view, I get it, because it does allow for some overtaking and it does kind of shake things up a bit. So what would have to happen? I imagine it would be quite similar to what we have in Formula 2 and Formula 3, where in F2 it is the top 8 that are reversed, I believe. So if you get 8th position in qualifying, you effectively get sprint pole. So you'll start on pole position for the sprint, 7th place in qualifying gets 2nd, 6th gets 3rd, etc. So the guy who actually starts on pole position for the Grand Prix will start in 8th on the sprint race. Now, whether the margins of that would kind of change, whether it be the top 10 that's reversed or even the whole grid that's reversed, it's skeptical about this, to be honest, because for me, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the sprint races in general, guys. I'm not. I do get that more is more sometimes, but sometimes as well, it just feels a bit gimmicky to me. And for the most parts, I wouldn't say recently these sprints have really added anything to Grand Prix. I get it for the people who are at the circuit, because you get more action, and you also get 3 days of action where things matter rather than just Friday where it's practice. But I do kind of like it where it's the kind of the build up through the weekend, and you get that still with the sprint, but you get qualifying after the sprint, which I think is a better way of doing it because it's less confusing, but you still get a race before qualifying before another race. You see what I mean? So I'm a bit on the fence about this. I do feel like it would increase action and make the races more entertaining, but I feel as well like it would get old quickly as well. You know, we do get some races where the grid is completely mixed up, like when there's a wet qualifying and Kevin Magnussen gets on pole like he did last year in Brazil, or something like that, something crazy like that happens. But it feels good because that's organic. You know, weather conditions can happen and people can take advantage and people can underperform because of that. So there is that as well. And I think it would get old quickly. I mean, if you had and on top of that, even in the 3rd race distance, if you start the Saubers on pole position, the Red Bulls are still going to overtake them by the end of the race. Well, maybe Perez wouldn't do, but it'd get close to doing it. Those top teams would still be by the back of the grid by the end of the race. It wouldn't take long to do it. And yeah, you get more overtaking and battling and stuff like that. But again, it's forced. It's a gimmick. It's not organic. And it would get old very quickly. It would get boring very quickly, in my opinion. And on top of that, as well, the teams would never accept it. I don't think the teams would ever accept it. You might get some like Sauber and stuff like that saying, yeah, we want to do that because it's their only chance of kind kind of battling for points at the moment, but the vast majority of teams wouldn't want that, because if they've got a quick car during a weekend, they want to be able to compete for points in the sprint and also points in the race. The sprint winner gets 10 points, I believe, or 8 points, it's one of the two. So it's a lot of points in a championship. It's not as much as a Grand Prix where you get 25, but it's not insignificant either. So I don't see this ever happening, and I'm pretty pessimistic about it actually changing much anyway. The most important thing for Formula 1 right now is to make sure these 2026 regulations work. That is the most important thing to making the weekend, the package, the product more entertaining, because without that, people are just going to give up on it. But I think the 26 regulations will be a good thing overall. But are they good enough? We'll see. We've done quite a few videos kind of delving into the depths of that. But let us know what you think, guys. You know, do you want to see more sprints? And do you also want to see reverse grid sprint races? And do you think they're likely to happen? Because you can want them all you want, but the teams vote on changes like this, and I don't see them doing it personally. But I'm happy to be proven wrong. Let us know in the comments below. And of course, for much more F1 news and analysis, keep it tuned right here to the F1Chronicle.com.